In this video, we're going to have a look at how you would assign a test to your students. For that, you would need to go to My Ada, and then you can either access tests by clicking Set a Test from your dashboard here, or you could go to the Tests menu on the left-hand side. Now, you don't have to create your own tests. We have provided a set of tests for you. We've created these tests from questions that don't already appear on the platform. So here are a list of the available tests. We don't have that many at the moment, but we're always developing new ones. The first two are baseline tests, and then the shorter tests are listed below, and they're on common topics within computer science. If you wanted to have a look at the test before you set it, you can click on the preview link here. In here, you can see that this particular A-level baseline test has 5 sections, and if you click on each section, you can see the questions appear like so. So rather than in an assignment where a question appears on a single page, these appear together in a section. And I can navigate through the sections and have a look and see whether these questions are suitable for my students. If I go back and go back to tests, I can do that for the other tests. So if I have a look at one of the shorter tests, this one only has 1 section, and these are 10 questions on computer networks. To assign a test to a group of students, it's very similar to how you would assign a quiz. You would click on the button that says Set Test, choose the group to which it's assigned. You can choose multiple groups. Then one thing that's slightly different about tests is you can choose what level of feedback the students should get. Now, an important distinction between a test and an assignment is that an assignment gives the student feedback for what they've done wrong so they can correct it and they can attempt it again. With a test, a student doesn't know whether they got the question right or wrong until they've pressed Submit. This can be used to mimic a proper test under exam conditions. I can choose, however, how much feedback my students will get. If I click on here, I've got 4 different levels of the feedback the students could get. First one is no feedback, so they don't see which ones they got right or wrong. Second one is the overall mark for the whole test. The third one is a mark for each section. And then the fourth one is detailed feedback on each question. I'm going to go ahead and choose detailed feedback. The start date is optional, and the due date is set by default to be 7 days from the date you assigned it, although it's easy to change this. When I click Set Test, there will be a notification that the student has a test to do. And I can see in my list of tests which tests I've assigned to students. If I click on this arrow, I can see the list of tests and when they've been taken. If I now go to View Results, I can see at the moment no one has taken this test, which is not surprising because I have just submitted it. I've just logged in as a student who belongs to that group. And as you can see, they've got quite a few notifications here for various tests and homework they've got to do. If I go to the tests view on the student page, I can see that there are 2 outstanding tests that the student has to do. I'm going to have a look at the computer systems test and click on this. And so this would be what the student would see. If they had multiple sections, they would appear as links underneath here, but this particular test only has 1 section. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to answer the questions. I'm not even thinking about these. I am just attempting this. So most of them are multiple choice in this case, but we also have options to drag and drop. So I am literally going through this very quickly and choosing these. And then when I click Finish, the student sees this message saying each of your answers will be visible to your teachers, and so that they can provide them with feedback and support. So a student at that point can go back and review their answers and then click finish. But when they're ready, they can click submit. Now, because I chose detailed feedback, I can see that I scored a magnificent 2 out of 10. And when I click on the section itself, I can see which of the questions I got incorrect. And on each of these, I've got a bit more information about why it was incorrect and a link through to an Ada Computer Science page to hopefully address that. You can see the 1, 2 that I got correct in this test. More importantly is what the teacher sees when they have a look in the mark book. I go to my mark book and go to 10 Class A. We talked about assignments in a previous video. We're now looking at tests. So you can see here I've created 3 tests. Now the test that previous student just did was the computer systems test. So if I click on that, I can see their attempts here. So this would be perfect if it was an end of topic test. I could see clearly what the students did. This is very similar to the mark book for an assignment, but the great thing is that I can get a little bit more information and I can also view each student's answers. So if I click on this, so remember I'm the teacher now, I can see what the student did. I can see their exact marks, but I can also go on to this and I can see what they got right and wrong, which is something that you don't normally get, or you don't get with an assignment. Let's go back to the mark book and just have a look at those tests. Computer systems test here. You will have noticed that on that test student, and when I click on that, I've got this button to allow another attempt. So we all know that sometimes students need to attempt a piece of homework or a test again. So this button here will allow the student to attempt the test again. And if I was logged in as the student, I would be able to go through that test one more time. We think that tests are particularly useful on Ada Computer Science, and we're hoping to write a few more that you will see in this list when you go to the tests view on Ada.